Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 133 of the High Sensitivity Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well as what we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with my co-hosts.
My name is Craig. That was a very soft, almost ASMR intro you just did there. I like that.
Is it? Is my voice? Oh,
It was
God.
it's like
probably my
super
voice.
soft. It was like,
Yeah.
hello, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm
I
a
didn't
little
mean to
hot
do
and
that.
bothered.
Do some
That
of
must
this.
be. I was about to say, that must be my voice.
Yeah,
My
maybe.
voice must not. Yeah, okay. Interesting. My co-hosts should introduce themselves.
Yeah. Well, my name is Craig as well, and I didn't realize after all this time knowing Barry that he had such a soft and supple voice.
Yeah. It's like smooth
Well, my voice.
jazz.
Yeah, my voice only sounds a little different because of because I've lost my voice because of a college football game. So that's just the way things are. I didn't realize I sounded like that. It's going to be interesting to play that back later. So I'm going to be.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to try. It may be the only time I think my voice sounds good.
Yeah.
But what is also good is the gaming news this week. Let's go ahead and get into those juicy details.
Ooh.
I'll start off with the Age of Empires 25th anniversary came out. The event, I should say, came out. And what they announced is that Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition and Age of Empires 4 will be coming to Xbox consoles later this holiday season / next year. And also, we are getting a remake of Age of Mythology Retold. They're going to be making a definitive edition of that. And that's kind of the bigger news for me this week, just because Age of Mythology has a lot to do with the fact of like why I love like mythology so much is because I grew up playing like that Age of Mythology game, and man, is it great. Like I'm really glad that they're going to be bringing that back, and hopefully it not only spurs like all of the fans coming back into the series, but maybe them even expanding it and maybe making like an actual follow-up to the game instead of just like an expansion pack. So I'm super excited to see all of the stuff that's coming to Age of Empires and how much like money I think Xbox is putting into them. Because Age of Empires to me, and I know people love StarCraft 2 and other RTS games, but Age of Empires and that developer has always been my go-to for RTS and like the kings of RTS for me. So, I'm not sure if you guys are big RTS guys, but I'm so happy with the stuff that they're coming out with.
Yeah. Age of Empires is like, me personally, it's my second because I was such a big Command and Conquer person back in the day on PC. I loved Command and Conquer. But that coming out on console, Age of Empires, is interesting to me. I know a lot of people would probably prefer to play it with mouse and keyboard. I think it's a lot easier than controller. But it opens up the possibility for people who may not have a computer or one that can run, a newer Age of Empires for them to be able to play it. So I think that's cool. But like me personally, I'd still rather play it on computer. But cool, good for them for getting it out there for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic. And Barry, you made a good point. It's like the definition of RTS. As a kid, I was a StarCraft guy myself and Age of Empires. I still have the Age of Empires 2 computer disc as like
as do
relic.
I.
So do I. We all do. Wow.
Yeah, we all do.
Do we see who can find it first? Do we all run and try to find it first?
I won't have it here. I do know where it is. I have the Age of Empires 3 disc that I can find.
Yeah. I would have to do at least 3 minutes of digging because it's definitely like in that corner of the closet where everything else is ahead of it. It was such a defining series for its time, and it is refreshing to see how consistent it's been over the years. And the more the merrier. Craig, great point, and Barry, also great point as well. Where playing it on the console is not necessarily as appetizing, but it does get it out to a community that can't necessarily spend money on a gaming or even a semi-gaming computer, that can run it well. So it's good to see that information coming out.
Yeah, it would be nice to see, like, I'm pretty sure Age of Empires 2, though, can practically run on a, probably a very basic laptop nowadays.
On a Nokia.
Yeah. But I would like to see that. I'd like to see them kind of in Windows and then pair up to like be able to like offer, the game maybe like bundled in, almost like with like Solitaire, like how
Yeah.
that and Minesweeper gets bundled in with Windows. I think Age of Empires like 2 is one of those games that you could like bundle in with it, and that way like not only do that only expands like the non-gamer portion of things, because there is a portion of gamers who only play like those like little Windows games that are put and come with your device. So put Age of Empires on there and people are going to be like, well, what's this, and give it a shot. Yeah, it's different from anything they've ever played, but I think that might be a good idea for them.
Yeah.
It is a good idea, but they don't even include Solitaire anymore. You have to buy it.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize. What about like so Spider Solitaire isn't included anymore?
I don't know. I just
Yeah.
remember looking and seeing that Solitaire wasn't included, and I was like, well, that's weird.
Oh, that upsets me to my core.
Yeah,
But
you got to have like it's Free Cell, Hearts, Spider, Solitaire, and Solitaire. That's the core.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Minesweeper.
True.
And then kind of the bigger controversy and news that I have this week is going to be, is the Series X holding back next gen gaming or current gen gaming, depending on how you want to look at it. A lot of stuff has been coming out about Gotham Knights over the past couple weeks, that the reason this game is not, let's say, performing to the standards that most of us like with the 60 frames a second, and also with like lately how the game is performing on certain consoles, the developers kind of came out and said, hey, like, because we have to make a game for the Series S, which is a weaker console than the PS5 and the Series X, we can't, we can't push the limits of that. And I guess it brings about the conversation of, is it holding gaming back? And this is the first time we've kind of heard of this happening with this current gen games, whether it's because this is the first team to come out and actually say something, or whether or not developers who've also been making games for the Series S have had this issue but never said anything. So more info will probably need to come out at some point, but what do you guys think of this? Should next gen gaming be better than it currently is? But, game makers have to abide, I guess, by Xbox's, I guess, kind of thing where they want games running for all of their consoles, despite the fact that one might be more powerful than the other.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of been there already with games that get made for the Switch. And also, like that's part of it's a little different, but kind of the same. I don't think you'll ever see Microsoft allow a game to be Series X only, right? It's got to have to work on both, or else they're not going to allow it to be on their platform. It is kind of, I don't think Gotham Knights looks bad. It could run smoother. You do notice the 30 frames on there. But I don't think it's going to change because Microsoft doesn't want to get rid of the Series S. They're selling a lot of them, right? So
Yeah,
that cheaper price point is nice for everybody. It does kind of suck that like you can't fully push, I guess, any Microsoft game, even first party, right? Because they always have to make sure it runs for the S. So that's why PS5 games are always going to look better, at least the exclusives, comparing like Halo Infinite and I don't know what, Demon Souls, maybe. Like Demon Souls looks twice as good. I just think that's the way it's always going to be, at least this console generation.
Yeah, I do think there's a world though that Xbox, I do think at some point you may release like the same game but a Series S version of it. Just because like as we continue to grow with these consoles, developers are only going to want to push the boundaries more, and if the S is that far behind of these other consoles, then you do have to worry about, and I guess Xbox needs to worry about, okay, maybe we don't have, and we'll use Gotham Knights here as an example, maybe we don't have Gotham Knights Series S edition out, whether it's out the same day with a Series S version or it comes out later, like how we have with games like Nier Automata and other games that are coming to Switch much later, but in a port that makes sense. for them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, especially considering like Persona 5 Royal as well, that are, you know, came out this week for Switch, where it's, they have their own port instead of, you know, having, you know, a console and a line of consoles that need to have different specs to them in order to run.
Yeah. And that's a, you know, that's a good point, Barry. I hope a lot of information or more information comes out about it, because like the rumors are like behind closed doors, development teams are actually having this issue because you're trying to make these games for next gen consoles, and when you look at the comparison between PlayStation's two next gens and Xbox's two next gens, there's more of a minimal difference between PlayStation's discless version. It's kind of still at least a little bit more up there, whereas the Series S, I mean, I had one myself, and we ended up returning it for, 12 days in to get a Series X, you know, like 12 days, you know. So I saw, like, regarding this story, there was also it was specifically the Gotham Knights. There was a Rocksteady senior character, his name's Lee Devanald, and he was essentially quoting as to there being a hardware bottleneck, and specifically mentioning the GPU on the Series S. So, like, going to what you were saying, kind of, Barry, it's probably not talked about until this particular one. And maybe it's because Gotham Knights is receiving some flack about how the performance has been. And I can attest to a little bit of it, as is Craig. I don't know if you got a chance to play it yet, Barry. I guess we can wait till the games edition to see if you had a chance of touching it. But it's I think it's an interesting story, especially because you have that idea that you proposed, Barry, where you just put it out later on the Switch, you know, put it out on the Switch, you know, like 6 months, 12 months down the road. How are we going to do it with the S and the X, you know? And Craig, we were talking about it before we even started recording, and you mentioned that they are going to be raising those prices for the Series X and the S, promised for at least the holiday season remaining where it is. It's all these different parts I think are interesting to watch in the next month or two, because how is Microsoft going to respond? You know, are there more developers that are going to come out and say like, hey, we had the same Gotham Knights issue, you know, and how far does that cry go?
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to see where it goes. You know, you know, you already mentioned it, but like Phil Spencer did come out and said that the Xbox consoles are going to be raising their price, not immediately, but it'll at least stay the same during the holidays and then may rise later. So, you know, do we run into something where, you know, the way they make games is affected by this? Because that I did find it like a confusing choice in order for Xbox to make a console that is less powerful, does not take a disc, does have less space, considering that, you know, there are already rumors that, you know, a PS5 Pro is in the works, and is there like a Xbox Series X Pro also in the works? I feel really the only way, like the only people that can pull this off kind of is Nintendo, where you have the OLED, the Switch OLED, which again is only I think $50 more for the OLED version, and then you have the Switch Lite, which have very little, you know, differences between each other, but all of them at least can play the same game, much like how the PS5 does. You know, the PS5 doesn't have as big of a price difference between the two consoles as the Xbox does, but at least for first and third party games, you know, you look at the PS5 and go, okay, at least we don't have to make a special version of it. So,
Yeah.
you know, I want to believe that, you know, at some point I do want to see kind of games take the next step with these consoles, whether it's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they all touted, you know, oh, they're going to be able to do 8K and stuff like that. Well, when are we going to see that? Not that necessarily it needs to happen, because not a lot of the public has 8K TVs, but when do we start to really see the upgrades in this next gen? When do we start to see, you know, 4K 120 frames a second? Because like that's not something I guess I see too much of. So right now in gaming. So when do we start to see that?
True.
But that's it. That's it for news. How about you guys? For me, at least.
So I have two here. First one I thought was super interesting, has to do with Callisto Protocol. And since we're getting super close to that game coming out, we're
Yes.
less than 2 months away now.
Mhm.
So they got the list of things that needed to be censored to sell in Japan, right? Just like normal, Japan censors their media. And Callisto Protocol has decided to not sell the game there. Let me double check because I think it actually might have been China. And I don't want to get the wrong country, but I feel like China is probably the right answer. But I thought this was super interesting because it's something. It is Japan. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I was gonna say I was pretty sure I saw it being
Yeah.
in Japan as well.
Kind of a big deal, right? This is a big game.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it would do in Japan, but I'm assuming it would do pretty well over there. And for them to come out and be like, we're not censoring, the violence, the gore that's in this game, we're just not going to sell it is a big move that I haven't really seen before from games in Japan.
Yeah, I personally do think that maybe it's got a bit more to do with more than just like toning down the gore or
Yeah.
something like that with
Mhm.
this, because in order for a developer sees like Japan as like a big gaming place, because it is,
Yep.
gaming is
Mhm.
very popular there, and it's got to be more than just setting a tone dial down to like a little less bloody. It's got to
Right.
be some sort of ridiculous request
Yep.
that Japan wants them to tone it down for. And, it sucks for the Japanese that won't be able to play this game. But, they get a lot of the Japanese games that I don't get to play. So now they know how I feel.
Yes.
So,
And
There you go.
they could also change their region, right? On like their
yeah.
Oh,
PlayStation
that's
to buy
true.
it if they really want to.
Or set like
Um,
a VPN. Probably you would have
right.
to do that if
Mhm.
Japan even allows VPNs now that I think about it. So,
Right. Right.
there's probably a couple doors that you may need to figure out or cross when that day
Mhm.
comes.
I think
Mhm.
like the thing that pops to mind that I could probably compare it closest to was Dead Space with the when you do the surgery on your eye, right? If you
Mhm.
remember that, which was a big deal, that had to be censored when that came out. And I'm assuming Callisto Protocol probably has stuff along those lines as far as like
Probably.
pushing the boundaries of what you can
Yeah.
see. And for them, it's probably like, this is just way too much work to censor this or even just completely take it out of that version. Like, I don't blame them at all for just being like, nah, we're good. We'll just skip Japan this time around. And people are still going to find a way to buy it anyway. So,
Well, wasn't it as well too? Like you mentioned the thing with Dead Space, 2, or whichever one replaced your eye with,
mhm.
but there was also like the big deal with the original Assassin's Creed,
Yep.
with Altair and
Mm.
his ring finger needing
Mhm.
to get chopped
Oh,
off.
yeah.
Like that was apparently too violent for even the United States.
Right.
So it's just like where and we probably would accept that now. Like to
Oh
be
yeah.
honest, the violence that people can get away with in the U.S. is probably much more than what it is in Japan. But like, did Japan have issues with like the Altair cutting his finger off type thing as well? Like that would,
Probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
that might
Probably.
be where you have to find out things to see if like the kind of the standard on violence has been the same throughout there or not.
Yeah. They've had to censor Call of Duty before over there. And I wouldn't
Yeah.
consider
Oh,
that
yeah.
like an overly violent game. I mean, it's violent, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
consider it like over the top.
Were they censoring like the campaign because of certain things that happened in the camp or like the multiplayer? Like,
I know they've censored like the blood before, right?
okay.
I know Call of Duty has a decent amount of blood in it, especially campaign.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like they're very strict on what you can see and what you can't see over in Japan, right? So I don't know. It seems like everybody, for the most part, is like, yeah, that's just the cost of doing business with Japan. That's just the way it's
Hmm.
going to be, and that's on if they want to censor their content, by all means, go ahead. But I would be annoyed if I was a gamer in Japan. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you were excited for the game.
Right. And then the other one I have is just a quick one. Is we got the announcement that they are remaking The Witcher. I believe Unreal Engine 5 is what they're going to use. I just liked at the bottom of their tweet, it was, we're very early. Please give us time. Like, please don't expect this in the next year or two. This is probably a good
Yeah.
3, 4, or 5 years off. So I'm going to, like, whenever it does come out, because I'm not a Witcher fan, like, I want to give it a try because of how much everybody hypes up The Witcher. I tried 2 and 3 and just could not get into it. So, maybe this is the way to get me into it, like Demon Souls.
Yeah, Witcher 2 is when I picked up the Witcher series, and then when I tried to go back to play the Witcher 1, the game was just far too rough for me to play. Like, there is a big difference between 1 and 2. So I am happy to see that they're going to do that, just because, one, they know the Witcher is a safe franchise for them to be able to make money off of. And two, that game does need, a buff in its graphical and how it plays, just because it is dated for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and but especially how 3 brought so many newcomers to the series. I mean, I got introduced on 3. I haven't even like attempted to play 2 or 1 yet. So that's like some good news, because they definitely built enough fan base to not only have that, but then have a TV series. It's just been upward momentum, and like you said, a very safe franchise for them in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just a quick add to that, speaking of The Witcher, is that the Netflix series is going to be replacing Henry Cavill with Liam Hemsworth, of the other Hemsworth brother. Kind of a weird thing, but a lot of details have come out that said, originally Henry Cavill was going to be playing The Witcher for like 7 seasons. Like, there was a 7-season plan apparently. But according to reports, a lot of the directors and people working on the show do not like the game or the books, so they want to take it in their own direction. And that, for Cavill, upset him in a way. Okay. So they're going to be replacing him with Liam Hemsworth. Kind of a strange move. Hopefully they can write in a way that makes sense, or they're just going to completely ignore the fact that it's 2 different actors and just continue to continue with the series. Like, Netflix, like they put so much money in the Witcher series that to have Henry Cavill leave, yes, probably saves them a decent amount of money, because Henry Cavill is probably an expensive actor, but also like Henry Cavill like loved The Witcher, so he wanted to play it. He wanted to play it and would probably put more emotion and time into it than other actors. So hopefully, it's going to be big shoes for Liam Hemsworth to have to fill. I will be watching it just to keep a lookout on it. I do like the Witcher series. So
he's going to be too busy playing Superman again.
So. Yeah, probably.
Oh, that's true.
Is it still like, is Witcher still popular? Because like when I saw that, I was kind of like reading comments and everybody was like, that show sucks. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's just like the majority of the people on there, but I don't watch the show. I tried. But
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still under the impression it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So yeah, I guess we'll see with season 3, because I know season 2 was better than season 1, because it didn't have all like the confusing bits. So hopefully, all we can do is hope that he fills those shoes, but that's a long way away. They have season 3 still in the works and hasn't been released, and then you have to wait for season 4, which would be like another 2 years probably. So it's not a problem we have to think about for a while.
True. That's all the news I had, though. Go ahead.
I actually found one that I was telling you guys that I couldn't remember the other one that I was looking for, and I found it. It was specifically, so Call of Duty came out.
Yep.
And like every other game, like an Overwatch or anything that requires a massive amount of people on a bunch of servers, there's going to be issues, people getting kicked, stuff like that. That's not the story that I necessarily wanted to focus on, because that's obvious. But the one thing that I did want to mention is that Xbox fans apparently cannot easily turn off crossplay.
Yep.
Which I thought was interesting, because not only that, PlayStation doubled down shortly before the release of Call of Duty, which by listing on the Call of Duty website some PS5 specific benefits for having that version, like double XP weekends, certain things along the line. So it kind of ties into what we were talking about with Sony versus Microsoft being toddlers. And that's why I mean, number one, for people who have it on Xbox, I didn't think about it because I don't have the issue because I'm playing it on PlayStation, but not being able to turn off crossplay is a big deal.
Yep.
Specifically when you're trying to avoid PC users, or specifically just in general, if you don't want to have anybody else other than, you know, your band of Xbox friends playing the game with you. And I just thought that the release of Call of Duty, albeit all of the issues that it's already having, those small little asterisks about it is just making what we've been conversing about on this platform, it just puts another check in the box of just like, can we stop acting like children, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think. Craig, I know you have it on Xbox.
Yeah. And there is like technically a workaround. Like you can go into your Xbox settings and turn off crossplay, and then go into it, and then it'll tell you like, hey, your crossplay's turned off. You have to turn this on to play, and you can actually cancel out of that and it'll still let you play. But it's just like a
Okay.
whole other mess. And like when I'm playing by myself, right? Like Craig and I, we played a bunch the past couple days, but when I'm playing by myself, I like to play free for all. And like there's nothing more frustrating than going to play free for all and seeing like of the 8 people, like 5 people are mouse and keyboard on PC, and I'm just like, well,
Oh yeah.
I'm screwed. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason that you separate controller and mouse and keyboard unless you want to be with them, because there is an advantage there with mouse and keyboard. So it is a little not upsetting, I would say more annoying. And like tied into that also, I always have played hardcore modes on Call of Duty. That's been my go-to. And there is none. They did say they were going to add it later, like when the first battle pass comes out, but to not have any when the game first comes out too is kind of weird. So it's kind of like, it's like, I don't want to say it's half baked on Xbox. I don't think it is, but interesting choices, I guess.
Yeah, that is strange. And you know, and Craig kind of took the words right out of my mouth, where there is a competitive advantage when it
Yep.
comes to playing on PC. You get higher frame rates depending on, and like there's more kind of tweaks that you can make to the game, whether it's field of view,
Yep.
the way the graphics look. You can set it to low graphics but higher frame rate. And then on top of that too, like the range of motion with a mouse compared to a joystick is kind of, you know, A to Z. It is completely two different worlds of how the game is played and how you react. So, you know, it's too bad that like Xbox and PlayStation just can't live in their own worlds, because I really wish you could. And then
Yeah.
if you want to, you can invite that world. Like eventually I'm going to have to play against PC players because I want to play with my brother who is
Right.
on PC. And it's great that they have that option, but there should also be an option, which there usually is, to turn that off so I can just play console, to where, you know, it's not just, you know, it's not me getting carried by my brother and not having fun because the PC players are destroying me. So
Right.
it's, you know, and when people stop having fun, people stop playing your multiplayer. So that's where like you got to think about, you know, how does this affect my you know, the multiplayer area for Call of Duty. Because if Xbox players get tired of playing with PC players, then it's not like an easy way to turn it off. You know, that's something that Xbox players now have to think about when it comes to, you know, do I get a game for a PlayStation or Xbox? Well, I don't like getting, you know, destroyed by PC players on Xbox. At least on PS5, I can easily turn it off and play just with PS5 people. And I imagine that turning it crossplay off in the PS5 version probably only pairs you with PS5 people and not Xbox, or maybe it's just console.
Or is it even there on PS5? Like, is there a switch or a button
for crossplay?
I thought,
yeah. Oh, there definitely is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a template out there on how to do this already. It's in Apex, right? If you play Apex on console, you get paired with console players. But on the times where I join a party with a friend who plays on PC, then I get put in PC lobbies. That's literally all you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, you know what, I don't want to mess with it, I'm just going to play with my console friends. But if you want to do it, it's there. Some people like to challenge, and I don't like hate it, but it's just kind of like you're going into that match being like, well, this is a loss, you know,
Yeah.
especially in free for all.
Yeah.
Like other modes, you have a better chance, but yeah, it's not a good look, I don't think.
No. Well, that's all I had.
Sweet.
Okay. So let's get into games this week where I guess for the most part you could say I'm a week behind. I have beat Plague Tale Requiem and have full impressions on that.
Sweet.
I have now played Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope as well. I played one Call of Duty multiplayer match, so I am not the person to say.
Nice.
I have not touched Bayonetta yet either, so we will be getting there eventually, but I need it, and I haven't even touched Gotham Knights, which I have as well. So it's game release season when I get new games that I haven't touched them. So
yeah.
But what about you guys?
So for me, obviously it's Modern Warfare 2 week. Whole bunch of thoughts on that. I have a bunch of thoughts on Gotham Knights now that I've put in a ton of hours. And then I fired up the old Oculus this week for some NFL Pro Era.
I've been thinking about picking that up. You're gonna have to you'll have to let me know how it is.
Yeah. So I stuck to Spark of Hope, so Mario plus Rabbids, played a little bit more of that. Don't have really any changed feelings, so I might just like step off of that until I beat it. But for me, also Call of Duty multiplayer, so I can kind of just piggyback. We can have a conversation about that, Craig, because we literally played together for a bunch of matches. And continued Gotham Knights, and I, as you, Craig, also have a little bit of more to say about it. So those are the three that I played.
Sweet.
So I'll talk about the oldest game first with Plague Tale Requiem.
2 weeks old.
Yeah, 2 weeks old. So Plague Tale Requiem, I do have to say I'm pretty happy with my experience with Requiem. The story is good. The game's a little longer than what I'm used to. I feel like probably could have cut an hour out of the game or a couple chapters at least.
Couple hours.
But, you know, the main thing that I run into is kind of a couple things here. Where, one, Craig is right about the whole forcing you to walk portion of things. Ugh. Just like, it just, I get it gives the developer time to have the characters talk and grow. I get that's why they're doing that. But also, like, when the segments go on for too long, it just becomes it becomes more annoying than it does helpful or feel like it's bonding in any way, because they want you to have a connection to these two characters, and especially with how the ending plays out. Yeah, they want the ending to they want you to feel for these characters. So you know, we have that portion of things. The game is a little bit longer, and I think that has to do with the fact that I get probably Xbox, because you know, this game was put on Xbox Game Pass and is also available on PlayStation. But I kind of just get the feeling that like they did play it very safe, to where it does just feel like a Plague Tale 1.5. I get that they wanted to give you more options with how, like, you know, Amicia can defend herself, but again, like there's the issue that I mentioned last week with, I do not like kind of the dynamic like skill leveling up tree where, you know, you have to play a certain way in order to continue to unlock certain things. Like overall, this game is going to be pretty highly rated. I think for me, maybe a top 10 game, just because I do like Plague Tale that much. But I do have to say, like, that ending was, oh man, that was rough. Like I get what they're going for with it. I get the message they're trying to send with it as well, but there is a part of this week where my dad was watching me finish this game, and I kind of gave my dad like the rundown of what's going on, so he's being able to follow along and everything. And we get to the ending, and my dad's like, "They're really gonna make you do this?" Like, you have to
Yeah.
do this. And it's like, yeah, I guess I do portion of things. So it
And cut to credits.
yes,
Yep.
and cut to credits. So
Yep.
it's it that ending was like, it's not rough in the sense that it doesn't make sense. It
Right.
just feels very heavy. It is a very heavy ending, which I guess for me, I'm not used to in gaming. Like, we get heavy endings that are sort of ambiguous,
Right.
Mhm.
a la The Last of Us, ending. But this ending was definitely like, oh boy, like this is heavy stuff. And I don't want to spoil it, but just know, like, if you're gonna play and finish Plague Tale Requiem, like, you gotta be prepared for what this ending has in store, because it is a journey, is what
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it. Like that ending made me like that ending made my experience a bit more conflicted with Requiem than like just being positive, just because the ending is like that kind of heavy
Yeah.
of an
Yeah.
ending. And I imagine you felt the same way, Craig.
Yeah. It's I mean, it was an interesting choice, right? I don't think it's a bad way to end the game. It's just a lot
Yeah.
to, after everything you've done, to end it that way is kind of like, oh man, you know. And that's the feeling they want when you finish that game is, I guess I had to do what I had to do,
Yeah.
but I don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for the both of you.
Mhm.
Because I need to catch up.
Sure.
Because you guys have finished these. What ending stunned you the most, or left you bewildered the most? Would you say it was Scorn, or would you say it was Requiem?
Between the two,
Yeah.
I
they're
feel
so
like,
different.
yeah, they're different endings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scorn is the ending where at the end of it, I'm like, what?
Yep.
Like,
You have
what are
no
we doing?
idea.
Like,
You have
yeah,
no
like, you
idea.
have no idea. Like, Requiem, you know why you had to do what you did.
Right.
Um,
Uh-huh.
it's just a matter of like
It makes sense.
yeah, like
It
their
makes sense.
ending makes sense. It's just
Yeah.
the fact that it is like one of those heavier endings that I think not
Yeah.
a lot of people, like, especially in gaming, are prepared for, because we get those types of endings. But Craig knows the particular part we're probably thinking about as well. Like, there's this one certain part where, like, you have to walk, and you know what you have to do. They literally told you what you have to do, and it's like, this is like this is rough.
Yeah.
Like this is going that next level. And with that, like, it's not a bad part of on the game for making me take that ending. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of, it surprised me. It's not something that I'm used to in gaming, but it's, overall, it's still an enjoyable experience. Just, I feel like we talked about this with the Joker movie. Like, if you're not in the right mind
Yeah.
space,
Hmm.
this game's ending could probably, like, make you feel things you didn't really want to feel or were ready to feel, I want to
Yeah.
Yeah.
say. Like,
Yeah.
and
Agreed.
I think that's something they need to be prepared for. And, you might need to be prepared for coming into the game, because the first one doesn't end like that.
No.
So,
No, it doesn't.
especially if you're excited to play the sequel, and then, you're not in the right mindset for how Requiem ends, you could you might probably be thinking about this ending for a lot longer than you might expect.
I mean, you're right. The first one does. The first one ends with, like, essentially just like a very jovial, like, a time.
Yeah.
So it just does a complete 180 in the second one.
Yeah.
It seems.
And luckily, you have 15 hours to work your way up to that ending.
Yeah. Yeah. You've
How many of
got a while to go.
Yeah.
how many of those hours are walking? Is it like 4?
12.
It definitely feels like 12. I
It's a
agree. I
lot.
agree with him
It's a
there.
lot. Oh my god. Anyway, what were the other? Oh, rabbits.
Rabbids,
Rabbits.
yes. Which
Yeah, what's your
Rabbids is
take?
more or less for both me and Craig.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really like the direction that Rabbids has taken.
Mhm.
They do a really good job of making you feel like it's not just turn based. It's not just move character here, shoot, go to next character, move them here, shoot, enemy turn. They do a really good job of making it so it feels like your turns are like these bigger portion of things. Like you can freely move around the current space that you're
Mm-hmm.
in, and if you see an enemy, you can dash into them, do a little bit of damage before even, using your action point is what they call it for each of your
Mm-hmm.
characters. But not only that, you have things like team jump, to where I can move Mario to one spot in the map, have Peach or Rabbid Peach jump off of her or him and go further into the map and still have space to move, and then
Mm-hmm.
get behind cover and like take this you know strategic advantage, I guess, for each map. And that I kind of really enjoy. I think this is a very welcoming kind of turn-based strategy game, because a lot of people, and I know Craig isn't, too much of a turn-based guy, like for how it is with me in Fire Emblem, but this game feels different in that it's not just moving to a position, clicking attack, and then the attack sequence. There is so much kind of pre-planning and pre-actions you can do before even doing
Yeah.
the action, that makes the game feel a little bit, I guess, like not only more friendly, but just I'm going to say this, a little bit more dewy is what I'm going to
Okay.
say.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's more doing to combat than there is in other games. And I think that's why this game is probably getting the positive reviews that it is because people, that don't really like the turn-based strategy portion of, games, of this type of game, have a lot more to do and have a lot more planning and more dewy things to do before the turn base, which, to its point, because it's fun. The characters are fun. Each character is unique and fun. As much as I've played of Mario and Rabbids, I'm really enjoying this game. Like this will continue to climb up the charts for me
Yeah.
with like probably one of my favorite Switch games in my catalog, because it is kind of that much of a fun turn-based strategy game.
Yeah, I know that I said earlier that I didn't have very much of a different opinion, so I wasn't going to say as much, but it's climbing up my game of the year list. It's not just destroying things like Elden Ring and Forbidden West, but it's like the more time I put into it, I physically feel like it's a game of shoots and ladders where you're only getting ladders. You know what I mean? In terms of it, it's really it's pretty well done. And Barry makes a lot of good points. Very friendly. The ability to move in space, not only your character's abilities, but the addition with the Spark of Hope sparks give you even more abilities, because
Mm-hmm.
you can equip them, and then they have their own set where they can give you a specific elemental damage. They can do AOE's effects, or attacks. So there's so much more strategy, but friendly strategy in it. So it's good for people who this might be their first or second game in the genre, and then it's also good for standard Mario fans. It kind of goes to a larger base than some of these types of games tend to be able to reach out to. So it's great. Like, let me put it this way: I'm trying to finish both that and Gotham Knights, and every time I look at Gotham Knights, I just pick up Mario plus Rabbids. I would rather be caught when God of War comes out. I'd rather be caught with Rabbids finished and not Gotham Knights, and then I'll just let Gotham Knights kind of hang out until I'm able to come back to it.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's
I'm
still
glad
on
you're
my
enjoying it.
list. It's just like it's gotten pushed. and
Yeah.
and I looked at it originally as like, all right, I only want to be technically playing one Switch game at a time, because the majority of my time is not going to be on my Switch. It's going to be on my Xbox and my PlayStation. So I was like,
Mhm.
I'm going to leave it open for Bayonetta. But it's funny that like none of us have played Bayonetta yet, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
We're all so hyped for it, and we're all like, it can wait.
Yeah.
Well, like,
Uh,
and one thing I did just real quick is like I marathon through Bayonetta 2. I'm done with Bayonetta 2.
okay.
So it's like, okay, I'm ready for Bayonetta 3. And then I get
And
it, and then I don't play it for the whole weekend because,
yep.
Yeah.
I've got other games to play and also have so much other stuff going on. And I do want to put it down on the record for the Switch game. I did officially buy Persona 5 again for the Switch. I'm not playing it, but I have it.
Oh my god!
So
Just
I
in
have
case.
I have officially bought like Persona 5 Royal twice, and then I've got vanilla Persona 5. So
There's no
Just in-
need.
Craig, I know.
I mean, just in case, if you go on a trip where you have
Exactly.
110 game hours,
No,
I
to
might
be-
have 100 hours to play
Oh
that
my
game for.
God.
That is exactly the reason I bought it.
Nobody is traveling that much.
it's a 100-hour plane ride to wherever you're getting to. You know?
Those okay. So obviously, Modern Warfare 2 and Gotham Knights, I'll get to because obviously Craig and I can both talk about those. NFL Pro era, got to bring this up because like this thing has been staring at my face for months, and I'm like, you know what, I
Yeah.
should try that because it looks cool. What I can say is it is surprisingly well done.
Oh.
My only issue with the game would be that it doesn't look the greatest. And I mean that as like you're looking at probably PS3 360 era Madden players. But what I appreciate is that they got the NFL license for this game. So every team, every player is in there, right? Correctly with, their name. Obviously it doesn't look like them, but the name on the back of the jersey and all that matches, which is huge, right? That makes a big difference than just playing some random game where you're just, random teams. So it has a full season mode, which is crazy. I didn't expect it to have a full season mode, but you literally like you pick your team, you pick how you want, yourself to look, or you can leave it, right? Like, so I picked the Eagles, and obviously the name comes through as Jalen Hurts, but you can change it to your own name. And it's so much fun to play. It's insane. Just being able to like, you have it's the little things for me. Like you have your shotgun, but you also have your under center snap. So you're like leaning over with your hands, like to get the snap. The handoffs for runs are fun, and like you can very easily mess them up. So like I'm looking behind me to see where the running back is, and then for whatever reason, when I hike it, he goes to the other side, and I turn and he's not there, and I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And then you kind of panic and do whatever, but yeah, it works very well. Throwing is, wherever you're aiming is where it's going to go. I haven't had any issues where it's like not going where I'm throwing, my arm motion is going. Yeah, it has some mini games that you can play, but I've just been playing the season mode. You can, obviously you're just playing as a quarterback, so you can do your offensive stuff, and then when you're done, it takes you to the sideline, and you can stand there and watch the other team's possession fully play out, or you can sim it just like in Madden, right? So if you want to stand there on the sideline and kind of pace up and down the sideline and watch, you can. All the stadiums are in there accurately, so you really get a sense of like, especially when you're standing on the sidelines, like how big everything is, right? The stadiums, the crowd. It's cool, and like it's not like the lineman running at you is not like jump scare, but it's terrifying because like those are big dudes, and you're like, okay, now I know how it feels, and I won't be so hard on quarterbacks now because it's absolutely terrifying. But yeah, I 100% recommend it. I think it's very cool. It's going to be interesting because top VR game for me this year is probably going to be a fight between this and golf.
Golf,
because like golf is
VR,
so good.
Golf
And I
Plus,
still go back and play that too. So I definitely say if you have an Oculus, get this. Barry, 100% you should pick it up. I think it's $30, and I think that's a fair price. So yeah, I've been having a ton of fun with that. So let's do Gotham Knights because I think I'm like 8 to 10 hours in now.
All right.
I put a lot of time in this week. I really like this game a lot, like a lot. And I didn't think I would just because when you first start, they throw so much at you. It's like insanely overwhelming. I don't know if you got the same feeling, Craig, but like when you press like the select button, when you're out and you see all this stuff on the screen that you can do,
yeah,
you're like,
there's
oh
so
my
many things.
God. Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah. And then like once I kind of like ignored that and I was like, all right, I'm going to focus in, pull up the map and be like, all right, I'm just going to go here and do this. Like it was a lot better for me. And I have such a good time of like every night just going around and clearing everything off. including
Yeah.
like the little like side crimes that are going on. Then I end my night and go back and upgrade. As far as like what you were saying last week, Barry, I've never had I've always had an overabundance of resources to make new stuff. I've never run out, always. I feel like I am growing in power to coincide with the enemies getting better. Even to the point where I did like the whole Harley Quinn side mission up until the point of facing the boss there. And it said I should have been like level 14 to 18, and I was like 12, and I didn't have a problem. So I 100% like I'm gonna finish this game. I'm just trying to finish it before God of War. We'll see. I don't know how much more I have, because there's the main Court of Owls thing, but also there's Harley Quinn,
there's
the
one.
Penguin, Clayface. There's so much stuff going on.
Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze. Yep.
I almost called him Dr. Freeze. I'm glad I didn't say anything.
Dr. Mr. Freeze.
But yeah, I agree with what you said last week, Craig, that Red Hood is terrible. Don't use him at all. He's too slow. No. But everybody else seems fine. And I'm just having a blast. So it might actually sneak into the top 10 for me. We'll see.
Yeah, I wanted to use Red Hood so bad.
Yep,
and
me too.
I wouldn't use him back. I would say maybe use him for the first mission or two just to get the feel for his attacks. But the other three are just so much more flexible and like they have, in my opinion, like better powers.
So like for me, I know like I'm gonna play as Batgirl because I want to play as Batgirl.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
yep.
That's right.
She has one of the best slides I've ever seen in a video game ever. It's so satisfying. Okay. She like goes down on her side, like on her knees. It just feels so good every time you do it. I love it.
Oh, that should be interesting. But I know I want to play as her. It's just that, and I was just watching a review from Girlfriend Reviews, a very popular YouTuber.
And they did the same one.
They did a co-op review of Gotham Knights.
Okay.
And you know the main concern that they have for it is that their game was very buggy. I'm not sure, and they played on PC. I'm not sure if it's the same with you guys.
I haven't had any issues.
Okay. No. Okay, good. It's just a matter of like I keep hearing that this game is like, you know, you guys are probably enjoying it now, but I keep hearing that like the fun goes up to 11 when you're playing with friends, which can be anything really. So I'm trying to decide whether or not I wait for my roommate to get the game or I ask you guys to play with me, which, you know, sometimes, you know, conflicting schedules can be a little bit of an issue. And also, I don't know if this is cross-play because I have it for PS5.
Okay.
And you probably have it for Xbox, and then you might actually have it for PS5, other Craig. So it's just like there's like I don't know if that stuff works or not, but you know, I guess we have to see. I am excited to play that game, but my issue is like I'm excited to play it when I get to it because like right now on my list is Bayonetta 3. Like that is the next like single player game I need to go into, but I also want to play campaign for Call of Duty and get into the multiplayer. But it's just a matter of how to, you know, where
it's not. By the way, Gotham Knights is not crossplay.
Okay, so at least now I know like I'm only playing with other Craig if we're trying to play, you know, co-op Gotham Knights. But you know, I'm just running into the uselessness of the overabundance of choice, where there's so many games to play, and then you know, none of us talked about the DLC for Resident Evil. So none of us touched that. So none of us touched that either. So it's just that there's so much going on with gaming right now that you know, we're all zeroed in on God of War when that game comes out. And that'll probably end up being our first, you know, full on spoiler God of War talk that we do this year. Because we're all going to be playing it and all going to be joining in on it. So you know, we'll get there, but it just sucks that like I don't know when I'm going to start playing Gotham Knights just because I have all these other games I have to play.
So you're not like. Go ahead, Craig. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just let me know, Barry, because I'll jump in with you.
Do you? Is it something that is? So for you though, Craig, like Gotham Knights is one that you can let slide. Like you're not as emotionally invested as I am in it then.
What I'm going to say, what I was trying to portray is in comparison to Mario plus Rabbids. My
Sure.
priority is to get that game done just because of how much fun I'm having with that game. I am having fun with Gotham Knights. I think that the story in particular is interesting,
Yeah.
especially without having Batman in it at all. What they really did well
Because he's dead.
is because he's dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
What they really did well is, like you were saying, you got a night where you could just go out and solve crimes all night. You just
Yep.
bust up this crime, you get more clues for more crimes the next night. You could do that literally the whole game and not progress the game. But the stories are set into specific chapters that you have to complete. So Harley Quinn has her own chapters or set
Yep.
of chapters, and Freeze has his own set of chapters. So they're not really intertwined. You can finish Harley Quinn. I don't know if you can finish another bad guys one before the initial one that you start, because like Harley Quinn is technically like the first one, kind of, but I
Right.
don't know. But it's really cool because you can zero in. So if you like Mr. Freeze more, you can do those more. If you like Harley Quinn, you can do hers. And there was a time where I thought that, because like we all know that there was a Harley Quinn boss fight trailer
Yeah.
before the game was released. There was there's at least one time that I thought the mission I was doing for Harley Quinn was going to end in that boss battle, and it didn't. It kept going. So
Yep.
I haven't even run into Clayface yet. I know he's
Okay.
going to be there.
Yep.
But what I need to do as a gamer is stay focused on the story a little bit, because this is the kind of game that will bore you
Oh yeah.
if you're not doing something major, because the crimes get a little bit repetitive after a while. So and so is a hostage in the park. 3 people have bombs on their wrist, and you have to undo their bombs without alerting it, hopefully, if you can. So and so's getting robbed. So and so's this. There's like
I've cleared out the same stronghold 3 times now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where the game does have the repetitiveness. But when you jump out and you go back to the Belfry, and then you actually jump into one of the characters, it's pretty good,
Yeah.
And I've gotten over the holding square for, and holding triangle for the combat, because
Yeah.
that's what was initially annoying. And the recommendation, just like last week, Barry, is get that glider as soon as you can.
Okay.
It's not a spoiler. There is it's this knighthood category that you have to just unlock things. It's essentially the Bat family's connection to Batman. That's like the tree or whatever.
Okay.
And if you don't wait, because I waited on a specific knighthood challenge, and I just spent my time just using my grappling hook, and it gets a little bit perturbing.
It does.
But as soon as you get the glider, all is well. Or whatever character's version of the glider is, because it's different with everybody.
The glider, and then the thing I did right after was there's a side mission with drones, and when you find drones in each section of the city, and that enables you to fast travel to each section of the city. If you do that and the gliding, those 2 things as soon as possible, the game for me was so much better, because then every night I wasn't like, all right, there's something I got to do on the complete opposite side of the map. Now I got to glide all the way over there. Nope, I just fast travel and I'm fairly close. It's so much better. So that should be like on the back of the box. Like, do these things first for optimal experience. The only thing that bothers me is the gliding. You have to do the challenges with each character, which is a little annoying. Like, if I unlock it, I feel like it should unlock it for everybody. But it was for that reason I stuck with Batgirl and haven't done it with the other 3 yet. Because I'm just like, I'm having fun with Batgirl. I'm just gonna chill with Batgirl for a while.
It's funny you say that, because like I'm a hybrid. I'm doing Robin and Nightwing.
Okay.
And when I unlocked it with Robin, who I was feeling more at the time, so I was playing more as him, I went back to Nightwing like the next mission or whatever, and I was like, I have to do this again. Oh my gosh, that is an annoying part. You should be able to just unlock it for all of them.
Oh yeah. Or hear me out, just give it to you in the beginning of the game. Right? Like, what are we doing?
They're the gadget family. They're literally the family of gadgets. How did we not have a glider in the beginning?
Yeah. They're already established crime fighters when the game begins. So why would they not already have that? I don't understand. It's an
You have a
interesting choice.
motorcycle. You have a
Yeah.
bat cycle.
Yeah, you have a motorcycle. All right. So, and then Modern Warfare 2. Talk about this real quick. I know, Barry, you play one match. Craig, did you play the campaign at all?
I didn't yet, no.
Okay. So I want to talk about the campaign real quick, and I won't put any spoilers in there. I'm going to throw this out there. This is the best Call of Duty campaign they've ever made, hands down.
Oh,
Wow.
I'm excited. I'm
Not
excited.
even close. Not even close. You
I'm
know, what's
excited.
funny is like I didn't do the digital pre-order to get the campaign a week early. I don't think any of us did. And like I intentionally didn't watch anything, but I was like reading people's comments, and everybody was like, "This campaign's slow. This campaign's not a Call of Duty campaign. It's boring." And so I went into it. I was like, "All right, let me just get through this." Right. For me, the story is like phenomenal. It's what I want. It reminds me of a blockbuster movie, but more of like a I don't know the right thing, maybe like a Born Identity kind of, right? Like that,
Okay.
like a lot of like CIA and all this kind of stuff going on. It looks phenomenal. It plays extremely well. There's a good variety of mission type things that you're doing. But I think what people are upset about is there's very little of that traditional like Call of Duty, start the mission, run through, kill 10,000 people, end a mission. They don't do that very often. It's a lot of like slow, methodical, get in, get this target, get out, that kind of stuff. So it's not your typical Call of Duty experience, but I think it's for the better because that's what multiplayer is for, right? Or the Spec Ops missions or whatever. But on top of that, there's some things in the campaign that is like so unnecessary to the point of like making me pull my hair out. And I'm not even playing on hard. I'm playing on regular.
Okay.
There are times where like I'm on regular and I feel like I'm playing veteran because I get to a checkpoint and I'm just getting wrecked over and over. And I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, what do you want me to do at this point? So there is like armored enemies in the game, in the campaign, where like you have to shoot them like 5 or 6 times in the head and then their helmet will fall off and then you got to shoot them in the head again. And they're like painfully frustrating to kill. And then like certain missions will throw like 5 of them. And this is on regular, like all coming at you at once. You're like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah.
But it's like very minor, like you get past it. But man, did I have a blast with the campaign. It was like phenomenal.
All right.
But yeah, multiplayer. This is interesting because Craig and I had a lot of issues the past 2 days, right? Voice chat issues, connection issues, getting kicked. But when we do play, I think it feels really good. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah. Once you get past all of those issues, because like, I mean, one of the issues we had was a simple like brain fart on my point. So like it was like one of those things where when you leave a PlayStation party with a group of people, but you're in a party yourself still, you have to leave your own party. It was like that stupid thing, so like focused on trying to fix the settings in Call of Duty when it was my issue entirely. But I mean, Craig is right. There are some of those getting kicked in the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes, occasionally, somebody pops in where it'll say that like they're in the party, but you can't hear them, or you can't invite somebody of a different, during crossplay, it'll say it's locked, like you can't invite the player to your party, so the person has to start the game over. We all must have started our game over probably like 5 or 6 times
at least.
But in the game, it's great.
Yeah.
They really went above and beyond with the level design of some of these. There's a really cool like racetrack one that's really sick. There's a highway one.
That one's awesome.
Which it looks like The Walking Dead. There's just a bunch of cars, unmanned cars, just on a road.
Yep.
With like broken glass everywhere. Like they did a great job with the levels and the way you progress, just keeping whatever filters of whatever game modes you have on. It could be 5 or 6 games and then all of a sudden you see another level, that you haven't even seen before. So it plays well. It looks good, plays well. I like how the gun feels when I'm shooting it. I have to unlock everything so that I can get the right mods to get the gun for me. because that's the fun of Call of Duty, where you drop your recoil by this much, but then you raise your accuracy by this much, and you actually feel sometimes a difference in the game. Sometimes you don't. It's fun. It's fun. And if this is the kind of game that they're just going to keep building on and supporting and supporting and supporting and supporting and supporting, then I think it's a good base. I think it's a good base for a good game.
You're still going to see the player base, like for as good as this game is, the player base is still going to drop once Warzone 2 comes out. It always happens. But like, I think there's enough there to keep me being like, I'm going to go over to Warzone 2 to try it. But I think there's enough with the multiplayer that I'll still go back and play it. I don't think I'm going to drop it immediately.
Yeah, it's fun. Just get the bugs out the way. It's opening weekend, so we just know with games of this scale that there are going to be bugs. But if they add another 5 maps in 6 to 10 months or something like that, and then they keep doing something like that, like if they can really support this to the point where it could be a long-standing Call of Duty if they wanted. They have the building blocks. So.
Yeah. Definitely a good Call of Duty for sure. That's all I played.
That is all I played as well.
All right, so that's going to be it for Played this week. We now move into movies, in which I have started my James Bond conquest, and I've started first at Dr. No, and then I have also watched Bullet Train.
Yes, Bullet Train. I watched Barbarian and Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. I watched the first 4 of 8.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I watched this week. Barry, I am 1 episode away from being done with Cyberpunk. I'm actually 20 minutes away from being done with Cyberpunk. Holy crap. But it's insane. But I watched Cabinet of Curiosities as well. We jumped around, my wife and I, so I didn't see the first 4 immediately in a row. I didn't see the one with the rats. I don't know what it's about.
Yep.
But I watched 1, 3, and 4, and I think like 6, whichever one had Rupert Grint, because we really wanted to see him.
Yep.
So that was primarily what I watched this week, was that, for the holiday season.
Barry, how was that first James Bond?
So the first James Bond, I was going to say, I should probably talk about the oldest movie by far. First.
60s, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I was actually kind of surprised about is that this James Bond movie, it doesn't look terrible. I actually think it kind of holds up. The overall, like, the story and everything is very basic. Like, I do like, me personally, I like the James Bond that gets into his gadgets. This really isn't that. It's not huge. There is a big contrast between today's James Bond and the 60s James Bond. Like, there's not like these gigantic, like, I don't want to say action set pieces. There's not gigantic explosions. Like, the fight choreography is very simple. Gunfights end in the blink of an eye if they want it to. So like, there's a lot of simplicity in the early James Bond movies, and I did expect that. What I didn't expect was for the movie to hold up as well as it did. I just watched it on Amazon Prime. The movie, first off, does not look terrible, does not sound terrible. I was expecting, like, I to be honest, I was expecting like full black and white, like terrible stereo audio, to be honest. But
I think they got
that's
4K remastered not too long ago.
They did.
Yeah.
And I think those are the versions I'm watching, so I think I'm a little bit spoiled in how everything looks and how it behaves. It's just that this is, I enjoyed the movie because it's such a different, like, James Bond movie compared to, like, I know I watched, like, who was the one before, like, Daniel Craig? It was
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce. Yeah. I know I watched some of those movies, but I don't remember them. So primarily for me, it's only been Daniel Craig that I've seen.
Yeah.
And this James Bond movie is fun because it's so different from everything I've ever seen. And I personally am very interested to see how the series continues to expand from, like, I've seen it at its starting point now compared to, what is recently the ending of like the James Bond movies until, they inevitably, find a new actor to do different stuff with.
Right.
So, that there is such a different contrast, which is probably, I think, what I like the most about it is that it didn't look terrible. I thought it was going to be terrible audio as well. It wasn't. I was pleasantly surprised with that, so I'm a little bit spoiled in that position. But I kind of enjoy the simplicity. It's not
Mhm.
right now. It's not like this crazy overarching story with like these little plot details that end up like stringing together like a Daniel Craig, where
Mhm.
first it's Vespa, then Quantum of Solace, which almost feels completely different from out of all the other James Bond movies, and then we start getting into Spectre. And
Yeah.
in Doctor No, there's like you first get there and he mentions Spectre, but you don't exactly know what it is yet. So I want to see how it expands there. Because really, there really in the Daniel Craig era, there really isn't like a super concentrated portion of Spectre until you get to that third or fourth movie. So
Mhm.
I I like that. Like when you watch those movies, each era is just completely different. And like
Yeah.
for me, the Pierce Brosnan era to me is just over the top cheesy. Like
Yeah.
it's so cheesy. But like the older ones, I do think they hold up well. They were just a different style. The Sean Connery
yeah,
ones are like the cool era.
Mhm.
Daniel Craig is just like the brawler era, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
um,
that's fair.
yeah, I don't know. The worst, I hate to say it, but I feel like the worst era for me is the Pierce Brosnan era because it's so like there's classics in
cheesy.
there, but it's so ridiculous.
It
The
is.
world
It
is
is
not
over the
enough
top.
is oh my god. And then the one with I'm forgetting the title, but with Halle Berry. Oh dear
Oh, is
lord.
that die? Not die another. No, it's
It might be Die Another Day
die another
because
day.
Tomorrow Never Dies is another one with Pierce Brosnan, but like they were so oh my god, just not they're entertaining, but they're not on the same level as some of the other ones. But I think overall it is cool. I might actually have to go back and watch all these again because it's been a long time.
And just skip the Pierce Brosnan ones.
I mean, I'm gonna have to watch them again
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
for
it
the
would be
laughs.
it would be interesting if you took this journey with me. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, Die Another Day is the one with Halle Berry. I had to look it up because that would have bothered me.
The
Um,
surfing part, do you remember
yes,
that?
I know.
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
god.
I grew up in a Sean Connery is the best Bond household. You're a
Hmm.
product of where you're from, and my dad believes that Sean Connery is the perfect epitome of who James Bond should be.
Yeah.
But I would agree with you, Craig, which is funny because like that was when we were growing up when those movies were coming out. It's the Pierce Brosnan one. I mean, I remember reading an article way back when he was so angry with being dropped as Bond. Apparently, Pierce Brosnan wanted to do another 2 or 3 films, and they just were like, no.
No, we're done.
Um, yeah, no, we're done.
Yep.
So it's nice you're going down that road, Barry, because like there's a lot of good content there, and it is nice to see what each actor brings to the Bond series. Like when they got Daniel Craig, he had being a Bond is big shoes to fill
Yeah.
anyway. So it's really nice to see how everybody can bring their expertise or their own little flair to the character as the ever expanding goes on. I know they were talking about Idris Elba
Hmm.
being that, but there's been a little bit of controversy with that. So like I'm not sure like where that stands
I think
with
it's
it,
gonna have
but
to be a female.
mm,
I either want a female or I do want like Idris Elba to play it. I
Yeah.
think like he's like the perfect fit. Like he's older,
Yeah.
and he's got
he's
the
suited.
English accent.
Yeah, he could do it for sure.
He
He
could do
could
it for sure.
absolutely do it. If they do it the female route, I am just super excited to see what they can do.
Hmm.
Just because James Bond, and it's very little of it is known as like a womanizer in a way,
Yep.
where he's always with a different woman,
Hmm.
everyone. So now we're going to be replacing it with hot guys, which will just be fun. It's just going to be a fun like a
Yeah.
flip for
Yep.
me if they decide to make
Or they
a
could
female
not. They
James
could
Bond
keep
movie
it.
a player.
They could keep her, a female James Bond that's a player with other ladies as well if they wanted to.
Yeah, they could.
You know what I
Yeah, they
mean?
could do whatever. Yeah,
Yeah. But I do think
but
it would be
it's
interesting.
yeah. I
If
just
they
feel
do,
like with a female, you have to do it with Like
Maggie
I
Smith.
think, yeah,
Ooh,
I feel like it's
okay.
going to
Just
be
Maggie
different
Smith.
from like a brawler like James Craig one. Like I feel like this one like could be like a very smart Bond character who plays with like her tools, her gadgets, and like is, I don't know, maybe focuses on stealth rather than, you know,
Mm.
Daniel Craig, which is just like I walk in with explosions coming in behind me.
I walk in
So,
with
With
explosions.
explosions.
He's got a pocket full of explosions. He's just gonna
yeah,
throw at you.
exactly.
What else?
Then it was Bullet Train.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go
Bullet
ahead.
Train.
So
Bullet
Bullet
Train.
Train, I really enjoyed. It's like just this fun action flick that, you know, you get like a good 10-minute like expose, and then it just kind of gets straight into the action and then kind of gives you more of an expose on each character as we go along. um I enjoyed, you know, the lemon and tangerine,
Yeah.
like like those two were a lot of fun to watch. um Bad Bunny is only in it for like a very little bit, which
Thank
kind of
God.
stinks. I like Bad Bunny, so he's
I don't as an actor.
okay, fair enough. I enjoyed like the little backstory he had. I do think that they do a really good job of like how it all comes together, like with why each person is on the train. Uh, and then like the ending is just like this really good action sequence with everything. And you know, I guess the girl that they consider what, the prince or the princess,
Yeah.
I felt like her character trope was a little weaker than everybody else's, but it's like it is overall just a fun movie with kind of action everywhere. And like this is like Brad Pitt's, like for me, I just enjoy like this kind of nonchalant, not serious character who ends up just like getting continuously put back and through the ringer. So it
Mm.
I don't know. It is a fun movie for me, and I think people will enjoy it if they're just looking for, and this isn't like in a bad way, like a dumb action movie to watch. Like
Sure.
I enjoy dumb action movies, and this is one that I enjoy.
I
Is
want.
it
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go
Just
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
wanted to ask. I just wanted to ask both of you: is it the kind of Brad Pitt acting job that you get in an Ocean's movie? Because I kind of like that side where it's just
It's
like very nonchalant, like kind of
sarcastic. Yeah.
sarcastic.
I don't know if it's like quite the same as an Ocean's movie. I need more action comedies with Brad Pitt because like
Yeah,
it seems like he's built for that, right? He's kind of like the I don't know.
Mr. and
I
Mrs.
can't
Mr.
really
and
compare
Mrs.
it to
Smith.
anything else he's done.
Well, he was funny in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Like that's
Yeah,
that's a good one for him. Like if you want to have like a description of like
true.
action comedy kind of thing.
He's like a
But
different, I don't know. He's a different character than I've seen him do before. And I just think he handled it and nailed it. It was crazy
okay,
good to me.
yeah, but Bullet Train's a watch. It's a very good
Yeah.
watch, and I will tell you guys, I tried to get Nope done. I know
Ooh,
I don't watch scary movies, but you guys said it was a good thriller.
Nope's great.
So I wanted to get it, but like it's sold out in 4K everywhere. I couldn't get it at Walmart, Target, or Best Buy,
yeah,
so I need to
Amazon.
continue to look for it. I
yeah.
should have just went to Amazon and I'd have it in 2 days, but I was
Yep.
looking to watch it like before we had the podcast today. So
Oh, I
Gotcha.
see.
um
Gotcha.
expect Nope, and we should have Maverick, Top Gun Maverick coming out
Oh, about
this
time.
Tuesday. So
Mm,
I will finally get there as well.
Okay.
okay.
All right. Barbarian. Craig, did you watch Barbarian?
I did not.
Okay. I didn't see it in theaters, but it is on HBO Max now.
Okay.
I loved Barbarian. This is a horror movie for sure, but I literally cannot say anything about it because the less you know, the better.
Okay.
I watched the first trailer way back when, and I think that's a good way to kind of understand where this movie's going without giving anything away. It literally just has to do with there's a lady who shows up to like an Airbnb, and when she gets there, somebody else is already there in the house, so it got double booked. And then at some point, they find a passageway in the basement, and that's really all you need to know about it. But it went places that I would not have guessed at all.
Okay.
It has its moments, like in Nope, right? When I don't want to spoil anything for Barry, but the moment where you think you see the aliens, right? You know what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about?
Mm-hmm.
Barbarian for me has that moment. I know like a lot of people have said in the theaters, it was the moment where everybody in the theaters had like a visible gasp, right? Where you first see what's in the tunnels coming and you're like, oh my God, what is that? You know what I mean? Like one of those type of movies where it just, you're like, oh my God, what is that? Get away from me. Kind of like the baby, right? In Resident Evil, Barry.
Oh my
Great.
God. Definitely an oh my God, what
Yeah.
is that?
Oh yeah. But there's more to it than just that. Like they do such a good way of introducing characters, I think is cool, where they're like, you start with your characters, some stuff happens, then it'll just completely cut. Boom. And then we're introducing another character, and then some stuff will happen to them, and then it'll just straight cut. And then it'll go to something else. I think is very cool. This might be my favorite horror movie of the year. I just think it's done extremely well. I think everybody should watch it. Barry, you should watch it. Just watch it.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Just do it. Come on. I need your opinion on this one.
It's going to take me a lot to even watch Nope. You guys said it's
Nope's
Nope's
not bad. I don't think Nope's scary. I don't know. I would love to have your personal review, Barry, on Barbarian. I would.
You should.
I didn't
think
have
a
movie
weekend.
called Barbarian would be a horror.
Yeah.
Well, you should. I have to do this, but your name is in the title, man. You could call it like Barbarian Weekend, like So
if there was a way that you could legally watch it while streaming on the Twitch channel, that would be so good, so good. Oh my God, it would be perfect. But yeah, so definitely check that out. Cabinet of Curiosities. I watched the first 4, so you've watched some different ones than me. For me, the highlights were 3 and 4 so far. 4 I thought was great with the lotion, the cream.
It was
crazy.
It was.
These are so cool to me that they're every episode's an hour. It's a completely different type of short story. I guess they're horror, right? You call them horror?
They technically are.
Yeah.
And it's good because they bring a director in for each, and pretty notable directors. They have one based off of H.P. Lovecraft or like a short story of that person, and they're bringing in name actors and actresses and some unknowns for certain people as well. And I'm finding as I watch more of these, I was talking to my wife about this last night, I am a horror anthology person.
Me too.
If somebody can nail a scary story within 45 minutes to an hour, and I love you. And especially if you give me 8 to 12 of them over the course of some time, all completely different stories. I liked it, even though Ryan Murphy hasn't been doing it for me. I liked it when it became American Horror Stories instead of Story, because I thought the idea was great. It's like, you spend all this time creating a scary season and you don't have enough content, so you have to put in fillers and all this other stuff that makes the season less great. I'm finding out more scary stories are almost better told if you can get it out in a max hour and 15 minutes.
Yep. So concise, to the point.
Concise.
So good.
The lotion one is great. It's a great take on American vanity, which is great. And Barry, it's less disgusting at certain parts than what it sounds like we're talking about. It's essentially roped around if Mary Kay had a scary story.
Yeah.
If Maybelline had a horror side. It's basically
that one's a horror comedy for sure.
That one is definitely a horror comedy. The woman in it is from Raising Hope, which got my wife and I excited because we watched that series. And also the guy in it is oh my God,
I forget his name, but he's been in a ton.
I can't. Yeah, Martin Starr. Martin Starr is hilarious and and it is a horror comedy. Yep. But there's definitely some others that are interesting. The first one was fine.
Yeah.
But then everyone that we watched after that built on it. Yeah.
The autopsy one, I really enjoyed.
That was awesome.
That one is straight body horror. You know what I mean? Uncomfortable. especially the ending.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
yeah, they
That
did.
part.
I just like that, like, yeah, everything is so different. The first one is like HP Lovecraft style.
Mhm.
Second one was, and to me, the second one's the weakest one. It has to do with grave robbers and rats. Um,
Mhm.
Third one, yeah, good body horror. Fourth one, good horror comedy. Like, I wouldn't say like the second one was not my favorite, but it's not bad. I haven't seen a bad one
Yeah.
yet, which is awesome.
No. It's gotten like a 60 to 70% approval. I think there's certain people that are hating on it because I
Yeah,
mean it is hard to land sometimes, but
right.
I think that artistically it's nailed. You get a nice monologue from Guillermo before each episode where he walks out and he like has like an artifact like
Yeah,
related to it and
like
he
a
like
Twilight
sets
Zone.
it down.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. The intro's great and it really kind of gets you in the mood. They are all completely different. I would be interested to see to hear your take on the Rupert Grint one that's
Okay.
involving witches. Um, and we still have to watch 5, 7, and 8, which I don't know what they're about, but definitely a nice. This one I've been waiting for this one for about a month or two because I really like Guillermo del Toro
Hmm.
just in general. So 10 Craigs out of
Yeah,
10 Craigs right
I
now.
agree. I agree with that statement.
So
That's all
now,
I watched. Go ahead.
and this is just something that I just want to build on to. And I know you guys both say you like the anthology stuff.
Mhm.
Other Craig, would you recommend two Craig, like the Junji Ito like series stuff? Like, is that
Yeah. Oh,
like
totally.
okay? Just because like
Totally.
I know you used my Crunchyroll for specifically like his
But
stuff there.
specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of his and yeah, I
Like,
definitely would.
do these two share a lot of similarities?
Um I
In like
feel
that
like
it's an anthology type thing, not so much that it's like
yes.
if they're like connected.
Yeah, so they're completely different. None of the characters really share any relation to any of the others. The stories have different premise, different villains and heroes, and whatever is the malignant part of it is always seems to be different. So yes, yes, in 45 words, yes, I would say that it's anthology the same way Junji Ito is.
Okay, cool.
I'll,
But was
I'll
there
kick it
anything
to
else
you
anybody
because
watched?
that was the last one that I watched.
That's I only watch Cabinet of Curiosities, so
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, perfect. That's going to be it for the podcast this week, guys. Thank you for listening. If you do feel the need to, please make sure to review it on your podcast listening platform of choice and make sure you share it with your friends if you feel so inclined. If you want to, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, even though some of those things we don't use too much. And I should just stop mentioning those now I think about it. And, and on top of that, like if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment below if you have any other additional comments about any of the stories we talk about. I really appreciate everybody that continues to listen and comment and everything like that. So thank you again, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See
Bye
you later.
guys. Oh, happy Halloween.
Yes. Happy Halloween.